I unbuckled my seatbelt and anxiously looked out the window. A tall girl with a bright yellow shirt walked towards the car and opened the door. "Hi," she said. "Welcome to camp." I nervously stepped out of the car and said goodbye to my mom. I looked back, hesitant to leave, but I didn't cry. I saved the tears for later. Finally, the counselor shut the door, and we made our way from the parking lot towards the grass. She gripped onto the straps of my pink backpack, brought me to my group 1D, and I sat down next to my best friend Lauren. That was my first day of Brook School Day Camp, and my first time setting foot on this campus. I was only 6 years old. I must have had a pretty good day, which turned into a good week, and then a good summer, because I've been returning to Brooks each summer since. This summer will mark my 12th year, and I finally got the job I wanted as a group counselor. Last year, I worked as a boating counselor, taking kids out on canoes and rowboats. It was not the job I originally wanted, but it turned out to be a great summer, even though I managed to get stranded on Lake Kachikowick in a canoe with 3 crying 7-year-olds. But that's a different story. Despite almost drifting away for eternity on Lake Kachikowick, day camp created many memories for me, and I couldn't imagine summer without Brooks. Honestly, it's a big part of why I chose to come to school here. When I visited campus for a tour and interview, it already felt like home. I had narrowed down my schools to Brooks and Pingree, and my teacher at Brookwood actually told me to go to Pingree because of my interest in the performing arts. Well, Pingree, how do you like our new $30 million Center for the Arts? Despite what my teacher said, I knew I wanted to come to Brooks because I had once again gotten that home feeling after my revisit day. By the end of 8th grade, I was ready to leave middle school, and I only had Brooks on my mind. I really did have a great academic experience at Brookwood. I loved my teachers, and I excelled in my classes. However, I did not have the easiest time socially. I found a group of girls in 5th grade, but in 7th grade, things started to change. They didn't invite me to hang out with them anymore and would post pictures of where they were without me. Feeling left out crushed me. They made fun of my clothes, the pimples on my forehead, and they had fun swearing at me and calling me names. Although they thought they were joking, I didn't find it funny. By the end of 8th grade, I remember leaning against my locker. I watched all the kids in my grade walk by in the crowded hallway, but I felt so alone. I was ready to get out. Although I was excited about coming to Brooks, those middle school girls really crushed my confidence. Because of them, I was more shy and quiet than I wanted to be freshman year. If you ask Naima, she'll tell you I had no personality. I would love to disagree with her a little bit, but I would say that I definitely could have been more outspoken. I was frustrated because I knew I was holding myself back. Why was I forcing myself to have my guard up? Freshman year, I only sat with a limited amount of people in the dining hall. I was constantly in my head about every decision I made. I was envious of the kids on sports teams because I felt like they had defined friend groups. I was missing out on team breakfasts and dinners, and it was frustrating. However, when winter rolled around, I had some hope that things might change because I was doing the musical. Singing was something I'd been doing since kindergarten. However, I was in a very different place with my voice freshman year than I am now. I took voice lessons with a teacher in middle school who stripped away my confidence as a singer. Instead of teaching me how to sing high, she told me that I just couldn't. I stopped seeing her when I came to Brooks and started taking lessons with someone who worked here. I won't name names out of respect, but he does not work here anymore. He also told me the same thing my old teacher did. He said that I wasn't singing right. It was true that freshman year I didn't know how to connect with my breath the way I do now, but instead of telling me that or showing me how to sing correctly, he told me I just couldn't. I left each lesson crying and almost ready to give up. As you can imagine, I went into my audition for the musical Into the Woods with very little confidence. I was cast as Cinderella's mother, and I shared this role with Sarah Fleischman. As Cinderella's mother, we sang one line in a tree, and that was it. I was devastated. Not only was I basically a tree, but Sarah and I were the only people who shared a role in the cast. I tried to stay positive, but again, I felt as though I just wasn't good enough. The spring came, and I decided I would do softball because I had played on North Andover teams when I was younger. I only lasted on the team for about 4 days. all of which were during preseason at the end of March break. I remember the last day when I practiced with the team, I got hit with the ball, and Alex Parisi and Nalia Medina were standing behind me. Alex kind of laughed after the ball hit my face, but eventually she tapped me on the shoulder and asked if I was okay. I shrugged it off and said I was fine, but on the inside I was dying of embarrassment. "This poor girl," Alex said. "She gets hit in the face every day." When I went over to get some water, Mrs. Hines walked over to me with a concerned look on her face. "Katie," she said, "I think you should get a mouth guard." Most of you probably know that the majority of people who play softball don't wear mouth guards. So that was it. In that moment, I knew it wasn't for me. A lot of my friends were doing crew, so I thought I would try rowing. That was also a huge mistake. I cried just about every day. The stress of being in a boat with all novices was too much. I couldn't stand being yelled at and almost falling into the lake several times. I did not have the mental or physical strength needed for the sport. At this point freshman year, I was really struggling. Why did everything seem to be going wrong, and where was this home feeling I had felt once before? When my mom asked if I was happy I'd chosen Brooks, I replied with, "Yeah, I guess." However, things began to get better when I started taking voice lessons with Mr. Griffith that spring. The first time we did vocal warm-ups in my lessons, he said, "Geez, why don't you sing like this in chorus?" I finally found a voice teacher who saw something in me. He believed in me, which helped me believe in myself. That spring, I'd received the solo in the chorus concert and was singing with concert chorale instead of festival chorus. It was the end to freshman year I really needed. Because of this, I went into sophomore year more confident. I did the fall play instead of JV field hockey, and I made some of my best friends. I had worked on songs from Cabaret with Mr. Griffith all summer, and I was really hoping to get a better part that year in the musical. Well, when the cast list came out, I was definitely surprised, and there were again a lot of tears. I wasn't a tree, but instead I was Bobby, a male gay stripper. I guess you could call it a fun acting exercise, but I wasn't really excited. However, Cabaret turned out to be a great experience for me, and Bobby truly was a fun acting exercise. That spring, I decided I would try JV tennis, even though I had no idea how to play. But why not try something new? I pride myself on being someone who has probably changed their spring afternoon activity the most at Brooks. Then came junior year. I found myself trying to branch out more and sitting at different tables at lunch. I got the biggest and most fun part I had yet to have at Brooks and Xanadu. I played tennis again, and I actually won a match. It's probably because I played with Jamie O'Shea, but I couldn't stop smiling and telling my friends about it for the next week. Then, when senior year started, I couldn't believe it was finally here. Senior fall is truly exhausting. You don't know how bad it really is until you go through it. Academics are harder than they have ever been before, and the college process straight up sucks. But once you get to this moment and look back on all you achieved, it's all worth it. If you told freshman year Katie, the one who played a tree, that she would get the opportunity to play Tracy in Hairspray, she wouldn't have believed you. If you wrote down on a piece of paper all the names of my friends I have now from all different grades and showed it to her, she would be proud. I still wish I could go back and tell that 6-year-old girl to stop crying and that she'll see her parents in just a few hours. I wish I could tell that broken middle schooler to chin up and that those girls only made her stronger. I wish I could tell that shy freshman to speak up and just talk to them or sit down at that table. High schoolers don't bite. I would tell the tree to be patient and that her time will come. But the truth is, I'm happy all those things happened to me. Each challenge I faced shaped the person who I am today. Although it is said too often, I now believe that things really do happen for a reason. Don't interpret your struggles as ways you failed, but instead of opportunities that helped you discover who you are. Don't think that just because you have bad days, you should try to be like the person sitting next to you, because they have bad days too. Be yourself, because that's who Brooks really needs. And the process of learning who you are will be hard, but it will also be so rewarding. So I would like to thank all the bad days, the challenges, and the struggles I faced. They all led me to this moment. I'm glad I stepped foot onto this campus that summer day because that 6-year-old girl learned how to swim. I'm glad that shy freshman decided to be more outgoing because she eventually made her best friends. I'm glad Mr. Lazare and Mr. Griffith decided I would be a good tree because that tree learned if she's patient, her hard work will pay off. Most importantly, I'm glad that freshman picked up that softball because she learned that she should never pick up one ever again. So, when my mom asked me again this year if I made the right choice coming to Brooks, I told her, yep, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Thank you.